Meghan, it won't go back before she got married, but the way she's treated the royal family, the way she's actually not allowed her children to meet their family, and you can go on and on for what she said, all the lies she said. So she's not someone who can complain about ethical behaviour. It was a dreadful thing to do and actually completely wrong. He is quite hard and harsh.
Is so odious, it's beyond belief.
Harry and Meghan Markle's surrogacy scandal has entered the mainstream media domain.
Meghan is using everything for publicity and not really truly there. We know how she treats her family and friends.
This is the same couple who once strongly asked for privacy and requested that the public respect their personal space. Yet somehow, their lives continue to play out in front of cameras, interviews, documentaries, and carefully planned media moments.
No, because whatever she tries to do, she's an absolute failure because she doesn't let anyone else who's got a lot of experience tell her what to do, give her advice. She thinks she knows the lot.
From streaming specials to public appearances, their private world often becomes a public topic. But here's where things start to feel uncomfortable. When it comes to one of the most talked about subjects involving their children, there has been very little clear information. Instead of direct explanations, people have noticed a pattern. Limited appearances, carefully managed photos, polished smiles, and moments that seem to raise more questions than they answer.
I don't believe that that's her voice, on the grounds that every photograph we've seen of the alleged children, their hair color changes, their height and body type changes, their face changes. So this is just, some random voice. All we saw was some little hand that seemed so small. It didn't seem like it belonged to a 3-year-old. So much was inconsistent about this that, I just think it's a kind of a turnoff. I'm not buying it.
From the outside looking in, it sometimes feels like whenever a clear answer could be given, the focus shifts elsewhere. Meghan stepped into royal life with confidence, almost as if she were entering a major spotlight role. Harry, on the other hand, made the life-changing decision to step away from royal duties, leaving behind long-standing traditions for a completely different life in California.
He became hypersensitive and blamed the media for the crashes of his relationship.
That decision alone divided public opinion. Some viewed it as independence. Others saw it as turning away from responsibility. Since that move, every step they take seems to carry extra weight. Their public image has leaned heavily on storytelling. They present themselves as people challenging the system, speaking openly about pressure and expectations, and describing their journey as standing up for themselves. At the same time, critics argue that they still benefit from their royal connection while avoiding deeper examination.
Diana treated her children. It was very important to care about people and not to think about themselves, and that money didn't matter very much. What did matter was to look after people.
That tension keeps the discussion alive and constantly changing. And now, it is intensifying. Comments from royal commentator Angela Levin have added fuel to an already heated conversation, especially regarding Archie and Lilibet. None of these claims have been confirmed, but they have pushed the topic back into the spotlight and sparked debate everywhere. From a commentary standpoint, it is less about proving anything and more about why these questions continue to resurface. The reactions have been just as noticeable. When legal action is mentioned quickly, some people do not see confidence. They see mounting pressure.
If she hasn't had the children herself or Harry hadn't been involved, then they can't be in the royal line. They have to have royal blood, those little ones. Without that, there's no chance of them becoming a member of the royal family.
When there is silence instead of clarification, it does not always appear calm. Sometimes it feels intentional, like an effort to avoid drawing more attention. But that silence often makes people even more curious. At this stage, the situation feels larger than just two individuals. It raises bigger questions about public accountability, especially when people hold public platforms and influence. When a story unfolds in pieces rather than clear statements, people begin to wonder why. Another moment that stood out was their wedding anniversary. Many expected something significant, perhaps a well-produced statement, curated photos, or a headline-making post to remind everyone they were still front and center. That had been the pattern before, and expectations were high.
Absolute media manipulation. But I thought tonight this was really ridiculous. These are two real imposters.
But this time, there was nothing. No major statement. No public celebration. No attention-grabbing social media post. From a commentary angle, that silence felt noticeable, almost like a change in strategy or perhaps a sign that things behind the scenes are not as carefully managed as they once were.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample or proof of delivery.
In this case, about whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump, the fact is Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Archie.
When a couple known for carefully timed visibility suddenly becomes quiet, people notice immediately. Right now, the conversation is not slowing down. If anything, it is growing louder. The more questions build without clear answers, the more people begin forming opinions and watching closely to see what happens next. The silence did not feel calm or peaceful. It felt heavy, awkward, and impossible to ignore. Here is the twist. For a couple who once branded themselves as bold rule breakers reshaping the system, the energy surrounding them now feels very different. Instead of dominating headlines, they seem to have slowly drifted into the background. Almost like a story many have already moved past.
Create a good business. It should be just based around you having good ideas, creating good products. Meghan Markle does not have any ideas. She is not good at business. She can't create good products. And so she constantly has to mine her royal connections to try to make something work, and she's getting diminishing returns for it. And I think this latest collaboration, not only is it offensive, she's launching it the day after Queen Elizabeth's birthday and during this whole birthday week, but the whole thing is just absolutely disgusting placement. And to monetize her children in such a way is deplorable, especially after proclaiming so often the dangers of social media for children. Harry and Meghan, if they want to be successful, and to a certain extent, the palace did want them to be successful in Hollywood, is that they need to stop with this cosplay royal routine and actually get and focus on their real jobs. But they're not doing that. And I think Australians are wise to them. We've had 10 years now of BS, of lies, of hypocrisy from this couple, and the wool is not going to be covering our eyes anymore. We're well aware of who they are. Meghan's not fooling anyone.
Meghan, once seen as a confident figure changing the royal image, did not even share a simple, polished social media post to show that everything was still picture perfect. And Harry, from a commentary perspective, no longer comes across as the same royal presence. He seems more like someone reflecting on a major life decision that did not fully unfold as expected. The same pair who once commanded global attention now appear to be facing something new, being overlooked. Their anniversary, which many thought would make headlines, barely created a ripple. No major buzz. No viral moment. Nothing that truly captured attention. That kind of quiet feels different when you are used to constant coverage. But that silence did more than just sit there. When the spotlight dims and the story slows down, outside voices grow louder.
Buckingham Palace is being pressured to remove Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet from the UK's royal line of succession until the Duchess provides absolute proof that she popped out both babies herself.
This time, one voice in particular stood out. Angela Levin stepped into the discussion, and she did not ease into it gently. From a commentary point of view, her tone felt direct, experienced, and deliberate. She did not soften her words or avoid the subject. Instead, she raised questions that immediately reignited public conversation. What she mentioned shifted attention again. Levin referred to questions that some online had quietly wondered about but had not openly pushed forward. Suddenly, discussions surrounding Archie and Lilibet were back at the center, not as confirmed facts, but as subjects people could no longer ignore. And the timing made it even more sensitive.
I discovered was, of course, that she was hunting for a man in England from 2013 onwards, when her marriage had crashed and she couldn't find anyone in Canada at the time. And she wanted wealth and she wanted fame. And there's no doubt she targeted Harry.
Public opinion about Harry and Meghan was already mixed, especially after several media projects did not meet expectations. So when these new questions surfaced, it added further strain to an already complicated image. From a viewer's perspective, the reaction was not only about what was said, it was about what has not been clearly addressed over time. People began revisiting past details, connecting small moments, and asking why certain traditional royal events, usually public and visible, were handled differently this time. Not accusations, curiosity, Angela Levin did not present her comments as an attack. Instead, it felt like she was voicing questions others were hesitant to say out loud. That is why the discussion gained traction so quickly. Once questions enter the public space, they rarely disappear. They grow, spread, and keep the conversation active. Now, instead of focusing on projects or appearances, attention has shifted back to personal matters. The key issue is not proof. It is perception. When clarity is missing, people fill in the blanks themselves. And that is exactly what is happening. What once looked like a carefully managed public image now feels like it is being examined from every angle. With every new discussion, the pressure increases. At this point, it is not only about what is true or false. It is about how long silence can last before people expect direct answers. In royal circles, silence does not quiet things. It often makes them louder.
Let me just be honest with you. It's because Meghan knows Confessions of a Female Founder is a massive flop, so she's trying to fill the space with everything else possible so that people are not talking about the fact that her podcast has fallen out of the top 100. It's mortifying. But so what we got was Lily's voice. And there's been a lot of people, including Angela, raising questions about this very odd-sounding voice. Now, when I was watching the Jamie Kern-Lima interview, was struck by Meghan's use of a word. Watch this.
I love when things look beautiful. Mm-hmm. And even when you don't have a lot, you're able to make things look
beautiful. You know, she's always talking about beautiful in a particular way. And guess who else on Sunday was saying beautiful?
But
what do we think, Lily?
I think it's beautiful.
When clear responses are not given, people do not simply move on. They begin reading between the lines. What could have been minor speculation grew larger because nothing direct addressed it. From a commentary viewpoint, Angela Levin's remarks did not sound like casual gossip. They felt like a serious challenge to the image Harry and Meghan have built. This was not something that could easily be brushed aside with a polished interview or documentary. It felt heavier. Prince Harry, who has always presented himself as strong and capable under pressure, responded in a way that caught attention. Rather than calmly ending the discussion with detailed explanations, the focus shifted toward legal warnings and visible frustration.
Angela's story is particularly fascinating because you actually were the official biographer of Prince Harry. You got to know the guy. You interviewed him. He chose you, really, to be the journalist who he became closest to. So you have a particularly fascinating insight into what's gone on.
Here is where it becomes interesting. From the outside, mentioning legal action does not always quiet criticism. Sometimes it does the opposite. Instead of projecting confidence, it can spark more curiosity about why the reaction is so intense. The narrative began to change. Sympathy shifted into questions. Support turned into deeper examination. Many observers asked a simple question. If the situation is straightforward, would it not be easier to clarify it directly? That question kept returning. Meghan, based on what has been seen publicly, has not stepped into this specific moment either. Her absence from the discussion placed even more focus on Harry's reaction. When one person speaks strongly and the other remains silent, people naturally analyze every detail more closely. The stronger the pushback became, the more it fueled conversation rather than slowed it. Then another element entered the discussion. 3 letters began appearing more frequently, DNA. Not as an official demand, but as a suggestion from commentators and online voices who believe that such proof could end speculation immediately. Again, these are public discussions, not confirmed requirements. But there has been no public move toward that kind of step. No statements. No confirmation. In today's world, where transparency is often expected, that absence stands out. Attention has also turned more toward Lilibet. Her name, connected to Queen Elizabeth, was once seen as a respectful tribute. Now, in the middle of this renewed debate, it has become part of the wider conversation. This is not about confirming anything. It is about how quickly perception shifts when questions remain unanswered. Some defend the couple strongly. Others question more deeply. The divide continues to grow. In a system built on lineage and history, clarity matters. When clarity feels uncertain, even slightly, doubt finds room to grow.
Harry I knew, and so I don't let that negativity come into me. I just say what I think, and that's it. You know, if he's now furious with me, then that's fair enough, but I have my own feelings and I just say them.
Harry's reaction did not seem to calm the situation. If anything, it made it feel more intense. From a commentary viewpoint, he appears under pressure, yet still avoiding the one action many believe could end speculation quickly, a clear and direct answer. Instead, the focus has remained on protecting privacy and pushing back against discussion. That approach has kept attention fixed on the issue. Meghan has remained noticeably quiet during this wave of attention. Her silence is being interpreted in different ways. Some see strength, others see avoidance. Each missed opportunity to clarify adds another layer to the debate. Royal traditions have historically followed visible patterns. For generations, major events like births were shared publicly in ways that reassured people and maintained openness. When Catherine, Princess of Wales, appeared after the births of her children, it reflected that tradition of transparency. With Meghan, the approach was different. Carefully selected images, limited details, a more controlled release of information. None of these elements confirm anything by themselves. But together, they created a sense of difference that did not go unnoticed. Once that feeling of inconsistency settles in, it opens the door for theories, accurate or not, to circulate.
Harry, we knew, has been destroyed by himself and by Meghan. And if he comes over and does any sort of give him a job to do, well, it's an absurd thing to say, because he will, demand money for it. Meghan will demand money for it.
Now the discussion is moving beyond curiosity. It is touching on broader ideas, tradition, public trust, and expectations connected to the monarchy. That institution relies heavily on clear lineage and continuity. When clarity feels uncertain, it becomes a wider issue. Angela Levin's commentary raised the stakes further. She suggested that if any of this ever reached a legal setting, the situation could become very serious very quickly. Because courts do not rely on narratives. They require documents, records, and verifiable facts. The thought of private family matters entering that space is what makes the discussion feel so intense. At the same time, there has been noticeable conversation about changes in media and business momentum. Opportunities that once seemed steady now appear, from some perspectives, to have slowed. In industries shaped by public opinion, perception carries real weight.
Official, the Australia tour was all about selling, and yes, I did say the word selling, merching is not strong enough, the children. So-called Prince Archie, so-called Princess Lily. Now the Sussexes are openly defying Queen Elizabeth II by selling products named and based on the...
At the center of everything is one simple question. If everything is straightforward, why not clear it up completely? Until that question is answered directly, the conversation is unlikely to fade. Right now, attention remains fixed. People are watching closely to see what happens next. If you found this breakdown engaging, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more updates. And do not stop here. Check out the next video appearing on your screen.